Good morning, everyone. This is Curtis Hawks with Insurance Agency Marketing Services, and really appreciate everybody taking some time today on this Monday to be on a call with us for a very important topic um, that not only is reshaping to a certain extent the IOL landscape, but I also think presenting a significant opportunity in the marketplace. So, with us today, we've got Andrew Herrera. He's Regional Vice President with North American, who is going to be taking us through a deep dive with North American's updated 7702 compliant product. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about some of the ways that uh, IAMS can help and assist with agents. So, first thing I'm going to talk about is our new producer builders. You can see that up here on the screen. And this is really our way to meet you where you're at to help you to get to where you want to be. And so as a new agent, when you get into production with us, you can see that we've got different point levels and different ways that you can cash in that production, whether it's trips, marketing dollars, cash, marketing incentives, programs, etc. Well, we've got a number of options available. The other thing I would mention to you as well, if you're doing something that's working for you right now, reach out, talk to a sales director. One of the core pillars that you'll find about us is a high degree of customization. And so we really want to help advisors. And so if you've got something that you're doing that's currently working, reach out to a sales director and chat with them about that. And if you've got questions on the program, reach out to us as well. The phone number is 800-255-5055. In addition to that, we've got our IAMS Business Builders, our referred producer program. If you're currently working with us and uh, might know somebody who maybe isn't quite happy with their current IMO relationship, send them our way. Not only will you get a $50 bonus when that agent gets contracted, you'll get an additional $100 bonus when they place their first piece of business. And then on an ongoing basis, you'll accrue additional dollars on their production. You don't have to do anything. We'll take care of all of the service. We'll take care of the agent. But it's a great opportunity to add additional revenue into your firm. In addition to that, we've got our marketing reimbursement program. And you can see here on the screen that you get $100 for every 100,000 of index annuity premium, and then $200 for every 100,000 of single premium life premium, or for every 10,000 of flow target premium. In addition to that, I have to highlight back office support. I think that that really has been in the spotlight here over the course of the last year as we've had carriers go remote and don't have staff in the office. Now, one thing I would mention is North American has been one of the better, if not the best company that we've dealt with here over the last year as far as turnaround times and service. But I will tell you that having a good back office at your IMO who can help assist and get things pushed through, whether it's illustrations, new business, licensing, you name it, I think it's really put a spotlight on having a good team of people supporting your business. And so I would encourage you, if you haven't tested out our back office support, you definitely need to, and certainly reach out to one of the sales directors and they can chat with you a little bit more about what your needs are. IAMS website. So we have continued to add a number of different resources and tools onto the site. And so you can see there that we've got a number of resources available, whether it's product rates on the annuity or life insurance side or long-term care side, to industry news, point of sale pieces, quoting on the annuity and the life insurance side, as well as Medicare for that matter too. But it is a really, really effective one-stop shop for really anything that you might need to do business virtually. To that end, I wanted to mention Firelight. We do have a Firelight integration on our site, as well as iPipeline also. And so you can see the carriers there, but if you're doing e-applications, if you're doing virtual sales, you can simply log into our website, and whether you're utilizing iPipeline or Firelight, you can do e-apps with all the top carriers out there. And you can see also that we're working on adding additional companies as well to that platform. Our creative marketing solutions. And I'm going to go ahead and launch our first poll of the presentation, but creative is really the key word here. One of the things that we found over the course of the last year is that advisors have had to get a little bit more tactical with how they do their marketing and prospecting. A lot of things that maybe worked like clockwork pre-pandemic, not necessarily the case. You look no further than workshops and live seminars. But there's also been significant opportunity, I think, that's been created over the course of the last year. And it really boils down to really taking a step back and looking at in your local marketplace, what are your goals? What is your target demographic? And what is the optimal way to get in front of those people? And so one of the things that we rolled out last year was our custom marketing analysis. And it's a complimentary service. But what we'll do is we'll actually go through and review, where do you want to market? What is your geographic area that you want to market in? What is your target market? What are your goals? How are you currently marketing? And then we'll go through and do an analysis and figure out what is the right mix of strategies for you. And so you get a very nice deliverable that goes into all of your marketing assets, and then what's working, what's not working, and you get a customized marketing plan. And right now, as we're getting close to the middle part of the year, I would encourage everybody to take advantage of this service. It's a great way to provide some clarity with what you're doing, and also take a look at some of the new things that are out there that can make a lot of sense. So I'll go ahead and get this closed down here. One of the things that we found as well over the course of the last year is being able to present virtually. Obviously, every advisor has had to evolve a little bit to be able to do that. And one of the best ways to do that is through presentation software. Retirement Analyzer is a very effective tool for illustrating how long somebody's income in retirement is going to last. And it does it in a very simple and straightforward format. So whether you're meeting with somebody face-to-face live or you're doing a virtual presentation, it's an amazing platform to use that really says, it answers that question of, am I going to outlive my income in retirement? And if you are, when would you rather know? Now or when it's too late to do anything about it? So if you've got questions on that, certainly feel free to reach out to a sales director over here. You can actually get access to that software for free through us as well. IAMS Wealth Management, for those of you that aren't aware, we do have an RIA platform that we launched a few years ago that has just seen significant growth over the last few years. And right now is a great time to be looking in that space, whether you're looking to add this as another value add to your business, or maybe you currently are an IR, RIA, and maybe you aren't quite happy with your current relationship. Charles and his team do a great job. I would encourage you to reach out to them, and they can talk to you a little bit about how they help people and how they can make a very positive impact in your business. Lastly, and we're very excited about this, we did announce in January our Top Producer Summit. As you can see here, we've really gone all out. We really want this to be an amazing experience, an experience of a lifetime. So we've got a Mediterranean cruise here. You can see that August 28th of next year through September 4th, we'll be basically working our way around the boot of Italy. Everything's high-end, concierge level. And we also wanted to make sure that we gave everybody more than enough time to qualify for it. So you can see that qualification period actually runs through June 30th of next year. If you've got questions on this, I would encourage you to reach out, talk to a sales director over here. They can chat with you a little bit more about everything that we're going to be doing on that trip and how you can qualify for it. But it really is going to be an amazing experience, and we're really looking forward to spending some time with our advisors, because that last year was tough. I mean, that's a big component of who we are, is being able to get that face time and spend time with our reps, and having to kind of postpone everything was a challenge. So with that, I'm going to get this switched over here so Andrew can present. And as we're getting that switched over to him, I'm also going to launch our next poll, which is, let me get it up here on the screen. Do you currently sell IUL? That's the big topic today. And I know we've got a mix of advisors on the call. IUL, in my opinion, is one of the most effective ways to address two of the biggest challenges that people have in retirement. And they're two of the biggest expenses in retirement, which are healthcare and taxes. And so, Andrew, you're in the thick of it. One thing I would ask is, before you get into your presentation, is there's been a lot going on in the life insurance space here over the last 18 months. So you go back to January last year, which seems like forever ago, but all of the life insurance companies had to update to the new mortality tables. And then the latter part of last year, we had the third iteration of AG 49, and then obviously the call today, we've got this update to 7702, which hadn't changed in just over, I think, 30 years. And so there's been a
Yeah.
lot of different things that have gone on, but I'm curious, as far as your perspective and North America's perspective, of kind of what you see as far as the marketplace and the impact of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on. I think what this current market has provided us is, if anything, a better opportunity than we had before, right? So with the onset of 7702, that's better cash accumulation inside these products, like the product I'm going to talk about today. So I really think that it's kind of a lot of things come together. So one, 7702 has allowed cash value products to become more attractive. That's a huge plus. But I also think with the backdrop of the current environment, right, with possibly taxes on the rise. So I think it's kind of a perfect storm for life insurance-based planning because one, again, our products are gotten better, and because I think the need is getting greater. So to your point, yeah, I think now is a great time for what we're about to talk about here in the coming minutes.
Uh, Absolutely. I think there's never been a better time to be in this space right now. And the topic of taxation is as high as it's ever been. And it's kind of this perfect storm where, we know tax increases are on the horizon, not just with these infrastructure packages, but then that still doesn't address the sunsetting of that is supposed to occur in 2025. And then we had that second COVID bill, the Consolidated Appropriations Act, where you had the 7702 change snuck in there. So at a time where we're looking at some of the largest tax increases that we've seen in 30 years, at the same time, you had Congress come in and say, okay, well, one of the only three tax-free buckets that you can use, we're going to go ahead and double the amount of money that you can put into it. So I really feel like it's kind of this perfect recipe, this perfect storm here that for the advisors that understand that and understand the landscape, there's just significant opportunity out there.
Absolutely, Curtis. I mean, you've nailed it. And you mentioned, the sunsetting of the tax. A lot of people forget about that, right? That the taxes to individuals was not permanent. That's going to sunset, and that's assuming that we don't see a change earlier, right? So even if
Yeah,
there aren't any changes, those will sunset here in the near future. So yeah, I mean, I think the time is now to talk about this. For agents to get in front of their clients and talk about this if they haven't already.
absolutely. Well, I appreciate you taking some time with us. So I'll let you go ahead and take it away here.
Absolutely. And let me know, Curtis, if you can see my screen here.
I can. Yep.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, again, as Curtis mentioned, my name is Andrew Herrera, Regional Vice President with North American. It's a pleasure to be on here with you this morning. Appreciate you all taking time out of your busy schedule, busy Monday, I assume, to be with IAMS, to be with myself, to be with Curtis this morning. We really appreciate that. So here in the coming minutes, what I want to share with you is what Curtis mentioned. We did update our product for 7702 to make it compliant. As Curtis mentioned, there was a bill passed at the end of last year, which a lot of people refer to as the stimulus bill. But within that bill was a change, a positive change for life insurance, and that was saying basically we're going to make a change to 7702, that's IRS code that dictates life insurance, which is going to be more favorable for cash value life insurance. And so, that's something that carriers had been long lobbying for. And the reason we were pushing for it is because the interest rate assumptions that we were assuming in our products before that were much higher compared to what what interest rates really are. We're in a low interest rate environment, yet the projections that we had to use in our products were really high. And so we were lobbying Congress to make a change to the benefit of life insurance carriers and really to the benefit of consumers. And we were fortunate enough to get that change, which allowed those interest rates to come down that are projected in our product. And at the end of the day, what that means is more cash, like Curtis said, more cash can now go into these products, so we can have more efficient cash accumulation. And in light of that, every carrier who's got, an IUL, VUL, whole life is going to have to redo their products this year. We have until the end of the year. And so North American, we went to the drawing board. We came out with our new product, the Builder Plus 3. And that's what I want to spend the next few minutes talking with you about this morning. There's some disclosures here, but really the agenda is I want to talk about, the current risks to your client's financial strategy. Then we'll move on talking about the Builder Plus 3 and really why I think it's positioning your clients to win. And last, certainly not least, just want to highlight why you would want to do business with North American Life. First number I want to bring up here, when you're thinking about, do your clients have enough? And according to, the LIMRA, most recent LIMRA study that we saw, 42% of American households would not be able to survive 6 months if they had the death of one of the breadwinners. So, whether it's mom or dad who would pass away, 42% of households would not be able to make it half a year because they're not planning, right? They're not planning for what life insurance provides, which is that income, that death benefit protection first and foremost. 25% of American households wouldn't be able to last 1 month. Think about that. If mom or dad, if they're both working and one of them dies, 25% of American households would not be able to make it a month. If you don't believe these statistics are true, you can just think back to, I believe it was 2 years ago, right, when we had, I think, the most recent federal government shutdown. And you can see, I believe the government was closed for a little over 30 days, but you saw how many people were having to take out loans, were having to call their mortgage company, were having to call their bank, were having to call, whoever their lenders were, whatever bills were due, saying, I need more time, I'm not getting a paycheck because the government shut down. And so we saw in reality, in real time, so many households that were impacted by the federal government shutdown a couple of years ago could not even make it 1 month. So again, 42% of American households couldn't last 6 months, 25 couldn't make it a month. Another important statistic I think that came from the most recent LIMRA study is that 48%, nearly half of Americans are underinsured. And that is true, I think, for two reasons. One, unfortunately, a lot of people aren't being approached, right? No agent is approaching them asking people if they have enough insurance or even any life insurance. And two, I think, unfortunately, a lot of Americans think, if I have group coverage at work, that means I have the life insurance that I need. And you and I know, because we're in this industry, we know and we recognize that is not nearly enough. Most group plans probably give anywhere from 2 to 3 times of someone's salary, and we know, again, that is not nearly enough to satisfy what they need if they were to pass away, to provide that income protection, again, to a surviving spouse, to kids, to pay for education, to pay down or pay off a mortgage, to pay off other debt, so on and so forth. That is not nearly enough. The majority, or about half of Americans, again, are underinsured. Another risk, when we think about risks that are impacting clients, is the tax risk. If we look here at this example I have, I'm showing on the left, that's the married filing jointly tax bracket from 1980 compared to the 2020 married filing jointly tax bracket, right? So if I'm going to pick on, let's just, to make it easy, $150,000. Let's say you got a couple combined income, $150,000. If you look on the left at 1980, that would put them in the 64% tax bracket. A little bit more, and they'd be bumped up to that 68%, right? That same couple making $150,000 in 2020, you can see that they are in the 22% tax bracket. Huge difference, right? If we look at historical tax brackets and where they were, again, just looking at 1980 compared to 2020. And here is perhaps a better chart showing the marginal tax rate, right, based on the highest earner and lowest earner regardless of whether it's the red line or the blue line that we're looking at, you can still see that where we find ourselves today is at a historically low tax rate environment. And again, this is something that Curtis mentioned at the beginning of the call, that a lot of this is about to sunset. But if you look at the history of where tax brackets were, they were a lot higher historically. I think there's only 2 times that they were lower. One was, you can see there, coming out of the Great Depression, and then in the late 80s. But relative to the amount of debt that we have as a country, I would argue that there has never been a time where tax rates are as low as they are today. Again, especially in light of the debt that we have as a country. And so naturally, I think that begs the question when you're talking to your clients is, Mr. and Mrs. Client, where do you think tax rates are going to go in the future? And I think regardless of political party, that is a fair question to ask. And again, regardless of political party, I think most consumers out there probably recognize that taxes are going to go up. In order to meet our future obligations, it's just realistic that taxes will likely go up. And so when we think about life insurance, it is really, truly the most advantageous tax planning tool that we have to use, right? We know that there are taxable items we can use, taxable buckets we can put into. There's tax deferred, and then lastly, tax advantage. Yet so few people take advantage of that tax advantage solution that is life insurance. Building on that, we can see here someone who's thinking about retirement, thinking, okay, I've got a retirement goal. I've got different buckets that I'm allocating to. By far, the most widely used one is tax qualified or tax qualified retirement plans, right? So think employer sponsored plans. So I can contribute to that, right, with before tax dollars, but when I retire, I'm going to pay tax on that based on my income level. And that is a great bucket to have. There's nothing against, 401ks. I always tell people, you should take advantage, especially if your employer is offering a match or anything like that. You definitely want to take advantage of that. The problem, I think, exists when people are putting all their eggs in one basket. So if you can think about an individual who is putting all of their retirement dollars in that bottom left category, right? So it's pre-tax money, it's going to grow tax deferred. But Mr. and Mrs. Client, when you go and take that income out in 20, 30, 40 years, right, when you retire, but a second ago when I asked you if you think tax brackets are going to go up, taxes are going to go up, and you agreed to that, what do you think is going to happen? Sure, all this money is growing tax deferred, but if taxes go up and you go to take that money out and it's being taxed at really high rates because taxes have gone up, you failed to diversify. Think about the impact that will have on you in the future. I think some people, in addition to 401k type plan, also contribute to the bottom right bucket, which think mutual funds, stocks, a portfolio like that. Again, another great tool to have, another great asset, another great diversification strategy. But yet we also know that is a taxable investment. Very few people actually take advantage of the tax advantage solutions that are offered, one, in something like a Roth IRA, but also what we're going to be talking about is cash value life insurance. And the great thing about cash value life insurance is, unlike Roth IRAs, is there's no limitations on income level. So you can make as much money as you want and still contribute to a cash value life insurance policy. You can contribute as much money as you want. There's no 59.5 early withdrawal penalty. If you want to fund some years and fund less other years, you have that flexibility. So any of the limitations that retirement plans have, you do not have in cash value life insurance. Yet the funds still grow tax deferred, and you can take that income tax free. And unfortunately, if you were to pass away during those accumulation years, at least rest assured knowing that you also have a tax free death benefit. So now moving on, let's jump into probably the exciting part that I want to share with you is our new product, the Builder Plus 3, and how really I believe this can position your clients to win. Now, with this new product, we've kept a lot of the same things that we had that North American has a strong history in the IUL space as being one of the first carriers to have an IUL. So we've got a long track record of being in the index universal life space, going on 15 years plus. And so we've kept a lot of the same things that people like about, the Builder series. So we have a guaranteed minimum account value that we're keeping. So regardless of the index performance, right? So if the index were to return zeros for the next 10 years, we would still provide at least a 2% return to that client. We also have a contractually guaranteed interest bonus on the index. So that is, 50 basis points. Again, that is contractually guaranteed. So at a very minimum, the client would still have 50 basis points on top of their index return. We also have protected death benefit feature. So a lot of carriers have a life paid up rider, which we do have as well, which is really important when you're taking income from these plans. You want to make sure that the policy protects itself and pays up when you've exhausted all the income, so you don't have a taxable event. But North American, in addition to that, is the only carrier to offer a protected death benefit feature, which allows the client to say, you know what, I want to carve out exactly what that death benefit's going to be. So if I've got $1 million in cash when I'm 65, I can say, you know what, North American, guarantee me a death benefit of $250,000, and then let's start taking income from the rest. So again, North American is the only carrier to offer that protected death benefit feature. In addition, we're still keeping our trio of living benefits, right? The critical, the chronic, and the terminal illness rider on this Builder Plus 3. So we're keeping that. Again, we're one of the few carriers to have 3 living benefits on our accumulation IUL. We also credit based on the full beginning segment value. That's something that I think a lot of clients and a lot of agents forget, because they think, most carriers credit IUL the same. Well, most carriers actually don't. A lot of carriers will take out the charges, and then that net amount is what they'll use to credit the client based on the index return. And we credit based on the full beginning segment value, and then we take out a lot of those charges afterwards to make it more rewarding for the client. We have that death benefit option 3, or as often as called the return of premium death benefit. We've kept that on the new product. We still have really low premium loads. You compare our premium loads to a lot of other carriers, and you'll see that they have much higher premium loads. Or if you fund above target, those premium loads could even be stepped up higher, so it's even more costly for the client. So something we pride ourselves in is, again, keeping those low premium loads on this new product. We sweep daily. So if you think about clients that are paying premium, when does that premium actually get allocated to the index? Well, for a lot of carriers, it's done on a monthly basis or maybe a biweekly basis. We're one of the few carriers that does daily index sweeps so that the client's dollars are participating in that index as soon as possible, so it can be advantageous to them. And then lastly, probably the newest thing that we've added to the Builder series is that volatility controlled index, that proprietary fidelity index, which we really like, and we think is probably the best solution for the client long term, is that fidelity volatility controlled index. But in addition to all those things I just mentioned, we've added some new benefits, right? So this new product is 7702 compliant. As we mentioned, those changes that every carrier has to implement before the end of the year. This product allows for that new guideline premium test, and you see that new MEC levels. We've also added a third way to take loans. So a lot of you are familiar with 2 traditional ways that North American has always had, and probably a lot of carriers, is we've got traditional fixed loan, which is we call those wash loans. We also offer a variable loan, which is probably what most of you are familiar with. Now we've added a third option, which is called a fixed participating loan. And I'll show you here in a second how that works. But that fixed participating loan option does come with a 2% bonus on it. We've also added a index bonus to that fidelity volatility control index that begins in year 1. It begins immediately. And that is 1.65, and then it increases. It actually doesn't go down. It increases after the 10th year. And a really neat thing, because I know a lot of people, a lot of agents were worried about, we've heard with 7702 that targets are going to go down, and that's partially true, right? Because the face amount has gone down, targets are dropping. But on a per face amount basis, our targets, we've actually built this new product to increase on a per face amount basis. So let's jump into, like I mentioned, some of the interest bonuses. Here's a better chart to see how those exist. On the fixed account value, probably very few people are going to be using the fixed account bucket, right, on an index product meant to accumulate cash. So you probably want to pay attention to the index account and the fidelity, which is what most people use. Again, on our index account, we still have a 1% bonus that begins in years 11 plus. But most importantly, that on that fidelity index, we've now started that bonus in the first year of 1.65. And like I mentioned, it increases after that in years 11 plus to 2.65. And then as far as taking income, that fixed interest participating loan, that is 2%. And here's how it works, okay? So let's talk about the index crediting first. So let's assume that the fidelity index credits, the index segment credits 5%. And by the way, that is the goal of the Fidelity Volatility Control Index, is to provide returns right around that 5% mark. So again, this index is meant to be very stable. It's allocated in different investments, not just all equities. It has cash and treasuries. So this is a index that's meant to be a smoother ride, as opposed to the ups and downs that you see in a lot of the S&P 500 type indices. So again, just for example purposes, let's assume that there's a 5% index in the return in the Fidelity Index. We've got a par rate of 125. Okay, so we take the 5% times the 125, but we add to that, like I said, that interest bonus that begins in the first year of 1.65. If I were actually showing an example of year 11 plus, right, we'd be adding 2.65. But to keep it conservative here, let's just show the bonus in the first 10 years, and that gives a final crediting rate of 7.9. So again, this is an example of how it would work, assuming your Fidelity Index times the 125 par rate plus that bonus gives you your final crediting rate. Now, as I mentioned, we've added a fixed participating loan. So your question is, Andrew, how does that fixed participating loan work? Here's an example of how that would play out. So let's start with the loan charge, which is 5% on that fixed participating loan. Okay, so we've got a 5% charge on that loan. Now, we just assumed that the Fidelity Index returned 5%. Of course, we add the 125 par rate, so the crediting rate plus par, that's 6.25. But like I mentioned, there's a 2% bonus when you choose this loan option, which means that my final loan credit is 8.25. Okay, so I have a 5% charge on my loan, but I take my Fidelity Index plus the par rate and that bonus, that gives me 8.25. So the arbitrage, right, that difference between the loan charge and the credit in this example is 3.25. Very advantageous, to the client. Another benefit of this fixed participating loan is on the illustration, you will get more benefit than the variable loan. So in reality, the variable loan could give you the same arbitrage here, right? So the variable loan could actually in real life play out the same, but AG 49A has some limitations on how we can illustrate our variable loan. And so this fixed participating loan, again, if you're looking to perhaps make, show more arbitrage for the client's benefit, you'd want to illustrate the fixed participating loan in that example. Let's jump now to a hypothetical case study where we're going to have, here this 45-year-old gentleman. He's focused on long-term death benefit protection, right? But he also knows that he needs some tax and risk diversification, right? So he's probably contributing to his qualified plan at work, but it says, you know what, that's not enough. If I just bank on that qualified plan, he's a high income earner. He recognizes that even maxing out his 401k, he's going to have a big retirement income gap. So he needs an additional bucket to contribute to. And he understands the tax advantage strategy. So he wants to, have some supplemental retirement income that is not going to be impacted by tax rates if they increase. And of course, he's also sold on the fact that he has a chronic and a critical illness rider on this policy. So the illustration I've run here on the Builder Plus 3, we're showing this 45-year-old male, preferred non-tobacco. He's contributing $20,000 for 20 years. So we're just kind of a traditional LERP scenario with increasing face, and then he takes income for 20 years. All told, his total premiums paid into this policy, $400,000. And the income that we're illustrating here with a variable loan, a little over almost $73,000 actually annually, but over the course of 20 years, that is over 1.4 million in income. So you can see the difference between how much have I paid in this policy and how much income am I able to show coming out. And again, this is, of course, we know this is just an illustration, just an example, but yet I still think the point is made on how much difference in the income I have versus the premiums I put in. I mean, even if I don't get 1.4, let's say I get 1.2 or 1.1, that is still a highly leveraged difference. And keep in mind, that is all tax-free income. So if I'm pulling money in retirement years for my 401k, I'm going to be paying taxes on that. Again, as we said at the beginning of this, likely at a higher tax rate. And to know that I've got this additional bucket of tax-deferred growth and tax-free income. And oh, by the way, if you look all the way on the right, that column, that's a tax-free death benefit. So if something does happen to me, at least I know I can pass that on, to surviving spouse, to kids, to whoever, my loved one beneficiary is. I want to show you kind of a before and after, so compare it to our older product, the Builder Plus 2. So in a Builder Plus 2, if I had done that same scenario, increasing death benefit, right, my income would have been a little over $65,000. The target would have been $8,962. The illustration I just showed you here is going to be that third one there, the Builder Plus 3 increasing. So you can see the income has gone from $65,000 on the old product to $72,000, almost $73,000 on the new product. Now, as I mentioned, the target is coming down. It was $89.62. It's dropping to $63.96 because that initial face has come down. But on a per face amount basis, targets have increased. And so I guess a better way to think about that is if the initial face had dropped in half, right? So the original target was $89.62. If we had just left that the same, the new target on the Builder Plus 3, would have been around $4,500. And instead, we've increased it to $63.96. So again, targets have come down only because face amounts have come down, but on a per face amount basis, targets have come up. Maybe a better way to look at that if you're running illustrations going forward is you can always back into that face amount on what it would have been before, and you'll see the targets have increased. Another thing that I like to show is on a level, right? So what if we had not done increasing face? What if we did a level face for that 45-year-old? Well, on the old product, the income would have been $51,012. Target would have been $21,845. On the new Builder Plus 3, if we didn't show an increasing face and a level, you can see that income goes up from $51,000 on the old product to $64,368, and my target is a few dollars higher. So I think that's the biggest change there. Not only that, if you think about it, if you look at the Builder Plus 2 product, the difference in income on the increasing and the level, that is a drop of about 21%. That's 65,000 down to 51,000. Yet on the Builder Plus 3, the difference between increasing and level, it's not 21%. It's nearly cut in half at about 11%. So I really think, if anything, if you can take away anything from the slide that I'm showing here, is that I really think we need to have a conversation about how we're going to design these products going forward, right? We can stick with the traditional increasing face, but does it make sense to perhaps go with a level face going forward now that 7702 has allowed for more cash per face amount? And again, you can see the income hasn't suffered. If we were to go with that level solve for the client, income hasn't suffered. So the client, doesn't really lose out there, and the targets are much more attractive. Not only that, if you think back to what I talked about at the very beginning, knowing that a lot of clients are underinsured from a death benefit perspective, perhaps we give the client some more death benefit going forward. Benefits of giving the client more death benefit, not just protection for them if they were to pass away, but it allows more room, more flexibility to fund more in the future if they want to do that. So again, I really think the conversation is going to be about, do we use guideline? Do we use CVAT? I think before it was always, we would always default to using guideline, but I think there's going to be a real conversation about whether we use CVAT. And by the way, North American's one of the few carriers that actually offers our accumulation IUL on guideline and CVAT. I know a lot of carriers out there only have guideline to offer on their accumulation products. So, or they say if you use CVAT, you don't get a life paid up rider, which, as we said, is really important on the back end. So we allow our overload protection or life paid up rider on both GPT and CVAT, increasing level return premium face. Again, I really think these are going to be considerations going forward with the onset of 7702 and better cash accumulation. I think that agents and clients are going to have that conversation about, hey, let's design this a little bit different to your benefit, to provide more flexibility, to give you more protection if that's what you also need. So again, going forward, I think that's a conversation. And if you have more questions on this, please, reach out to IAMS. I'm sure that they're happy to walk you through all the nuances of 7702 and the benefits of products or which way you would want to design one. And lastly, I think loan strategies, right? Do you have a client who is maybe more conservative and wants to illustrate just a traditional, fixed wash loan? Are you more comfortable with just showing variable loans because you've always done that? Or do you want to take advantage of that new strategy in the fixed participating loan with that 2% bonus? Again, all considerations that I think should be on the table going forward. At the end of the day, though, if you're sitting on this webinar as a producer, I just encourage you, right, to think about who do you know who can really benefit from a tax advantage strategy. Perhaps you're working with clients who are high income earners and you know that they're already, maxing out their 401k, or they've come to you and they said, do you know of any tax advantage strategies that I can take advantage of? Is there something else that I should be doing to diversify? And now, if you haven't approached them already, now you can approach them with life insurance as that asset solution. Business owners, oftentimes we find business owners overfunding IULs because they're already doing what they can in their company retirement plan. But as a business owner, they're saying, I need to save more. Is there something else I can be doing? And a great thing about a business owner or just any professional is to know that in a lot of states, the cash value is protected. So, depending on the state that you're writing in, I'd encourage you to look at the laws, but cash value life insurance a lot of times is a protected asset, even from creditors. So that can be really advantageous, for business owners and professionals. Ideally, it's a client who's maybe 35 to 55, so they've got enough years to fund this product and to allow it to grow. So that's, I would say, the best age range for someone to look who is looking at using life insurance for this strategy. But again, hopefully they're clients that have already approached you or that could really take advantage of this solution, or that they really need to diversify their assets, diversify their tax situation for the future. Last, certainly not least, is why North American. First and foremost, it's our strength and stability. As I mentioned, we've been in the IUL space. We're one of the few first carriers in the IUL space, and we've got a long track record of being in this business. But more importantly, we've got a long track record of being in the life insurance business in general, right? 130 plus years. Strong ratings, right? Strong ratings matter. They matter because when you're selling something to your client, right? When you're presenting them a solution, you want to make sure that it's a carrier that has been around for 100 plus years and is likely going to be around for 100 plus years in the future. Because that promise that's on paper, you want it to be with a company who's got a strong track record, right? Who's been in the business, who knows what they're doing. They've got high ratings. They've got stable leadership. We've never increased COIs, an existing block of business. There's a lot of carriers, can't say that today. So it's the strength and stability, first and foremost, of North American. Second is the ease of doing business, especially as Curtis mentioned, during COVID, so many carriers took a step backwards or had long delays, and we were one of the few carriers to provide the ease of doing business. But not only that, we didn't offer those lengthy delays that a lot of other carriers saw. So everything from an electronic application on the front end to an online part 2, which are the lifestyle and health questions that a client can do online on their own time, right? Accelerated underwriting, e-signature, through DocuSign, and then lastly, e-delivery. So really, at the end of the day, as an agent, you can do business and never have to leave your office. And as a client, you never have to leave your home, and you can still, do your part of the application, get the policy e-delivered to you. WriteAway is our accelerated underwriting program, ages 18 to 50 up to $2 million, ages 51 to 60 for up to $500,000. All of our products, not just the Builder Plus 3 product, but all of our products. And by the way, our product portfolio, we've got a strong breadth of product portfolio, everything from term to GUL. So we still got guaranteed products when a lot of carriers are pulling out of the guarantee space. And of course, our focus today is talking about accumulation IUL, which we have a strong product in that market as well. But all of our products you can have accelerated underwriting with, best class all the way to standard. And one thing that a lot of people say, well, how many cases are you actually seeing approved through your accelerated underwriting? We are seeing nearly 60% of cases approved through our accelerated underwriting program. So we know that it works. Another positive update is a lot of you are familiar with COVID underwriting guidelines, right? So many carriers, had to implement COVID underwriting guidelines. We're starting June 1st. We're going to take our first step to relax those. So our first phase, of relaxing the COVID underwriting guidelines. So you can see that chart on the right. We can underwrite all the way through age 79. Age 80 and older is still postponed right now, but we're one of the few carriers that actually go in the 70s, especially in the height of COVID. We were able to do that. So all the way through age 79, you can see that we're relaxing a few of the table classes there. So again, very competitive, very aggressive compared to a lot of carriers as far as their COVID underwriting guidelines. And we hope that's just going to get more and more open here in the coming months. Another item we have, we've got a lot of information on North American's microsite. And again, reach out to one of the directors at IAMS if you want more information on anything, whether it's product brochure. One of the things that I like to promote is our sales solution roadmap. This is a great tool to have that highlights so many different, client solutions that are out there. And the neat thing about this piece is it talks about, not just the concept, but what is a product that really fits that? How do I illustrate it? What are the conversation talking points that I can have with a client? It's really a soup to nuts approach on the solution, the product, and how to approach a client and implement that. And again, this resource, any of our other resources can be found online, and one of the life directors at IAMS would be happy to help you with that. So in closing, my ask of you would be, hopefully, as I've talked about, a tax advantage solution, I've talked about the Builder Plus 3, try and think about 3 clients, right? 3 clients, maybe they're existing clients that you think can benefit from a tax advantage solution. Maybe they're not yet clients of yours, but you know 3 people that you can approach to talk about a tax advantage solution, right? Maybe it's a reason to pick up the phone and call them, or a foot in the door to approach them and say, you know what, I really think you can benefit from this tax advantage solution. Can I spend a few minutes to talk to you about that, right? Schedule time with IAMS. Work with your life director. If you need illustrations, if you need product material, anything that you need, they would be happy to help you with. And lastly, my hope is that you can present that solution to the client, not just to put that client in a better spot, but at the end of the day, to help build your business in 2021 as well. So with that, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join Curtis, myself, and IAMS this morning. With that, I will turn it back over to Curtis.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. I appreciate you kind of taking a deep dive there. I'm going to go ahead and launch our final poll here real quick, which is if you'd like to get some information, some more information on North American's products. And Andrew, I thought you made a good point, because there's always the discussion about increasing our level on the face amount, and we know that for most people out there, the 2 biggest expenses they're going to have in retirement are going to be healthcare and taxes. And that's one of the benefits to selling these types of products, because you do have the critical and chronic illness benefit, as well as the tax-free advantage growth and distribution and the cash value. But the challenge has always been, when you look at option B, or option A on the design, you kind of have to make a decision on, okay, we're going to try and go max cash accumulation, or we're going to have a higher death benefit to account for the chronic illness benefit. And part of the reason I think for that is because there has been such a disparity, right, on the income distribution. So there's been a pretty significant difference. But with this change and that income distribution tightening to get to being a closer percentage, I think it makes the case to look at that to where it's, can we address both of these challenges in retirement? Because we know we're going to have that. I mean, what are your thoughts on
Absolutely.
that?
I think you're absolutely right. Before it was a one or the other, right? I could either have the increasing face to really achieve max cash accumulation, or I would give that up, right, in lieu of the higher level face. But I think the benefit of 7702 is it's given us both options as being viable, right? I mean, I showed in my example that even with the level face on the new product, your income was pretty much identical to what it was on the Builder Plus 2 with increasing. So now you can give that client that death benefit protection, more leverage with those accelerated benefit riders, and still not have the income take a hit. Oh, and by the way, me as the producer, I still can get paid handsomely, right, on that target. I think it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely is going to, I think it presents a different perspective on the designs of these contracts as we continue to go forward and look at what the optimal strategy is. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll get this poll closed down. Let me just switched over here. I'm going to go ahead and put this up here. If you've got any questions, you can reach out to one of the sales directors over here. Our phone number is 800-255-5055. I also want to make a plug for, we're doing a webinar next week, I believe next Wednesday. But we have a new, specifically IUL marketing program that we're going to be rolling out. And I think one of the core elements of it, with everything we've talked about, with everything in the news, the media about increased tax rates, et cetera, what this program does is generate a consistent flow of high income earning individuals that are concerned about how they can generate a tax-free income in retirement. And so it does a very effective job of generating a quality prospect that is teed up for that overfunded IUL solution. So more to come on that. You'll see some emails about it the latter part of this week, but I would encourage everybody on this call today that if you're interested in learning new ways to get in front of prospects that have a need for these types of products, it's definitely a webinar that you got to be on. Andrew, I appreciate you taking some time with us today. And again, I think hopefully everybody on the call today sees things the same way we do, which is there's just significant opportunity in the marketplace right now. And it really comes down to who's going to capitalize on that. We've got all the tools and resources available here to help you do that. So reach out, give us a call, 800-255-5055, and we appreciate you taking some time with us today. Thanks.
Thanks, Curtis.